Hey everybody, it's Goblin and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. And today we have the Edge of Eternities Play Booster Arena Direct. Like any other Arena Direct, we are playing best of one sealed of the newest set, Edge of Eternities, trying to win at least 7 games before only 2 match losses. If we can do that, we're going to get some physical Magic the Gathering cards, except this time we technically only need to get 6 wins, because it's play booster boxes and not collector booster boxes. So we get 1 box at 6 wins and 2 boxes at 7. Very cool event here. Very high stakes, very high variance though. It's 6,000 gems to enter. That is a little bit over 30 bucks, even if you buy the best dollar to gem ratio bundle. So certainly not an event for everybody. Even the best players in the world have like a 70% win rate, which on average is not going to get the box every time. So you are subject to variance even if you are incredible at the game, and if you are not quite good at sealed, you are going to spew a lot of gems here, and sometimes, even if you're great, just have a bad weekend and you could lose a lot of gems and or cash on the event. So not for everybody. That is the disclaimer at the start of this, but for content creators like myself, I know you all love watching this competitive limited stuff, and I do like playing me some limited, mainly draft, but if sealed is where they're going to put the big high dollar events, then we'll have to play some sealed as well. So without further ado, let's hop into the Edge of Eternities Play Booster Arena Direct. All right, we've got a lot of rares here, which is quite exciting. Multiple are very powerful. I think the strongest color pair looks to be green-white if we have good support at common and uncommon, because we have Ouroboros, arguably the strongest mythic in the entire set. We have Thrumming Hivepool that will fit into any deck as a way to win the game. If we play this on a pretty stable board, it just takes over the game over time. The Sunstar Chaplain's a very aggressive rare that can give you a lot of value early for a really cheap mana cost. The Diadrine here, incredible for green-white decks with any +1/+1 counter shenanigans. We have both a Sunstar Chaplain and an Ouroboros to go with the Diadrine there for +1/+1 counter shenanigans out of the rares alone. The Anti-Causal Vestige is great value as another colorless rare that fits in any deck. Really, really powerful sealed pool in terms of rare quality. We just gotta hope that we have the support at common and uncommon to get the deck really ticking. Usually I take a peek at the multicolored and colorless first, and I will do the same here despite my best instincts wanting to just immediately jam green, white, and go. We've got a Dauntless Scrap Pot. This is a great colorless spell we can fit into any deck. The Kill Ship, if we're a slower grindier deck with a lot of beefy creatures, can be quite decent as well, being a 7/7 flyer and a removal spell in the right position. Nutrient blocks are okay with synergy, but that is all we've got in colorless. We have very bad mana fixing. There's no mana fixing in colorless outside of the 1 lander token, and then there's no multicolored land here. The dual lands in the set are all the rares, the shock lands, so we have 1 stomping ground, and that is it for land-based fixing, because Thespian Stage does not really do it. For multicolored, we have Sammy and Monomonon, Uthros Exile. These are some of the weaker signpost uncommons, not huge reasons to go in those color pairs. We have much bigger reasons to try to play green-white with Diadrine, so that is the one color pair we'll keep in the back of our head for a color pair that has some really, really powerful cards that make us want to play the color. Alright, so white is not very deep. We need to have a lot of playable green spells to get there, but the cards that we have here are pretty high quality. The Dockworker Drone has good synergy with +1/+1 counter rares, so it works with our Sunstar Chaplain, it works with our Diadrine, it works with our Ouroboros even, potentially. So that's nice. The Starfighter Pilot's just fine for the mana cost, and the Chaplain's obviously great. Zealot, fine for the cost. Rammer, fine for the cost. Focus Fire's solid, cheap removal, and then Radiant Strikes are fine if you don't have enough interaction. But then, like Scout for Survivors, Squire's Lightblade, there's a pretty big drop-off in power level once you get to these cards. The Scout and the Lightblade are both quite narrow. But if you're a really aggressive deck, super low curve, and you really want to double spell with something like Zealot, maybe Lightblade could be okay. And Scout for Survivors, I feel, is a lot more narrow. But if you have a lot of really high value 2 and 3 mana value creatures to reanimate, sometimes it could be playable. But it looks like these are the definite plays in white, which leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spells total. We need 23 non-land cards, so we're really hoping for a lot out of green. Although we have one multicolored spell, a couple colorless spells that are perfectly playable. We could fill the deck out with some stuff. Checking out the blue now. Blue looks perfectly fine. The tractor beam's quite good. Couple divert disasters are okay for non-creature spells. Unravel, that's okay enough. I really don't want to play Annul. Modulation's not very exciting. And then the Sentinel, the Shield Mate, also not very exciting. I mean, there's some okay artifact synergies going on here. The Assembler could be quite powerful, but there's no huge reason to play the color. I don't even think the Phenomenon is super good unless you're a super high artifact count. We have like 4 in here. When you look at it that way, 4 artifacts, that makes the Mechan Assembler less exciting too. Secondary color with a lot of artifacts could make this tick, but in terms of raw power by itself, it's not particularly high. Black, we've got Gravkill, Embrace Oblivion, a couple Dirgecraft. We got pretty decent removal. And then 1 fun rare with the Ostia Harmonist. That's what we've got going for black. It's pretty decent. I mean, it requires much less synergy than our blue to get it going, so at face value, it's better than our blue. Yep, I like it perfectly fine. Like, despite the lack of quantity in white, though, just because of the sheer power of Sunstar Chaplain, I'm still more into that color than black. Technically, white even has more removal than black. We replace Gravkill and Oblivion for Focus Fire and 2 Radiant Strikes. They are less flexible removal spells, but still a higher quantity. Checking out the red, solid aggro deck stuff here. Mechan's probably the worst spell out of all of these. The team leaders can be a little weaker as well without any token production, just a 3 toughness card for 4 mana. No ETB effect or anything, just a slight buff to everybody on the board. But we have Bombard, Plasma Bolt, and Orbital Plunge for interaction, a somewhat quick mana curve, and if we have a lot of creatures in our secondary color, the team leader goes up in value. Yeah, this looks super, super solid, actually. And last but hopefully not least, we've got green, where we have Ouroboros, the strongest card in our whole sealed pool, a very good mana curve, triple Gene Pollinator for fixing. The biggest thing that we're missing out on in our green is interaction, any removal spells. We just have 1 Biosynthic Burst, but 3 Pollinators to ramp up. Incredible bomb power with Ouroboros. Color looks super strong. I think green is easily our best color. We get a Vestige and a Scrapbot in anything we play. We can play a kill ship for more removal. We've got multiple lander tokens as well as triple Pollinator. Yeah, there's another 6-drop rare. We've got a lot of high mana value rares. One thing that's really powerful about Diadrine is it looks like one of these giant, like, Hydra-style creatures you really need to play at the top of your curve. But if you're a deck that has a Vestige and a Hive Pool, like multiple other great bomb rares late, we can play this as, like, our 3-drop, and it's going to be absurdly good. Green, white, and 1, we get a 3/4, and we can remove a counter from it, make a 2/2, and draw a card every time we attack with somebody. Like, that's a great rate even at 3 mana. So I do like the Diadrine. One thing I'm a little interested in is we do have a Stomping Ground here as well as lander tokens between the Scrap Bots and some other green cards. I guess the Pollinators aren't lander tokens, but still fixed for whatever color we need there. So I could see splashing in some of the best red cards here, because all of the best red spells are super splashable. It's like Orbital Plunge and Bombard style stuff that just requires a single red mana. So I could definitely see a dabble into red for a little bit more removal being decent. I guess we could play Sammy at that point as well, although not mega excited about the idea of doing that. Okay, I don't think I'm playing Lightblade or Scout. Much easier to splash red than anything else because we do have a 1-of Stomping Ground towards that. So if I'm splashing removal, I'd rather play like an Orbital Plunge off the splash than like a Gravkill off the splash. No other lander tokens anywhere. A couple Nutrient Block for just filler stuff that lets us draw through our deck a little faster. Those are decent cards to tap to the Gene Pollinators, because they can sit on the board till later in the game. That is the thing that makes me most interested in maybe splashing in Sammy, right? Is that like a Gene Pollinator could tap two of our creatures without even having to attack. The Pollinator itself is tapped, and then whatever other creature we want. So that is interesting. I don't know if it's quite worth it. I mean, if I'm not splashing for Orbital Plunge, then definitely not. But if I'm already going to play a little bit of red for Orbital Plunge, maybe also playing Sammy is not the craziest. God, I like this mana curve. Solid interaction here, even if we don't play Plunge. Little low on interaction for sure. Little low on removal. That's where Kill Ship comes in a little. I feel like currently we look like a really solid aggro deck that has a super high amount of top end here. We've got some mediocre cards throughout the curve here, mainly at 3 and then like 5+. Although Rammer could be considered mediocre as well. There's like nutrient blocks that are definitely on the filler end, but I do like them. And then Starfighter Pilot, but I like getting this curve really low, having a bunch of 2-drops to go with the Pollinators. Scrapbot is fantastic. Wayfarer is fantastic. It leaves Zealots, Skystinger, and Thawbringers as the potential cuts. The Thawbringers are quite good with the Spacecraft if we keep them as really high power, low mana value creatures. So they work with the Kill Ship. We can station that off of just tapping a Thawbringer twice, so the turn we play it and then the turn after. A Greenhouse as well can get stationed off of just one Thawbringer in 2 turns. Same with Wedgelight Rammer. Okay, maybe not Wedgelight Rammer. But I guess if you count the robot it makes as stationing towards itself, then sort of. So Rammers, I guess, sort of harder for just the Thawbringer to station, but you get what I mean. It's very high power for the cheap entry fee, so it's good at stationing. I also like just the enter and death trigger, I think, a little bit more than just the double spell trigger or the bonus power when blocking flyers that Skystinger gives us. It's like if I just want to play 4 or 3-drops, I think these two are worse than Thawbringer, especially if I don't cut any Spacecraft, but I think even if I cut a few of them, I prefer the Thawbringers. They're also better with Biosynthetic Burst, a higher power with the Trample, higher power with the oops, indestructible, kill something big. Yeah, I think I'm pretty cool to cut a couple 3-drops immediately. Then it might be some Spacecraft. Spacecraft is the kind of card, it's the sort of card type that you really don't want to overload your deck with because they do nothing when you're behind. Right, like Atmospheric Greenhouse. Don't love the design of this card. I don't like playing with this kind of card or against this kind of card because it's the sort of thing that it's like you curve out and you have a pretty demanding lead on the game already. Turn 5 Greenhouse is going to push you over the top and you just can't lose. You go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, Greenhouse, counter on your whole board, also it's instantly stationed basically. You're not going to lose. But you're behind. Your opponent goes 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop on you. When you mold the 6, you kept like a creature and a couple removal spells. And then you top deck Greenhouse. You're like, this is nothing. I just drew a blank magic card because you've got maybe like 1 creature on board if you're behind like that. Yeah, I'm not in love with the Greenhouse. It's my least favorite of the Spacecraft that we have here because it exemplifies the kind of vehicle and Spacecraft thing of being good when you're ahead and bad when you're behind the absolute most, because its enter effect as well is only good when you've already got a bunch of stuff on board and doesn't do anything when you're behind. Meanwhile, the Wedgelight Rammer and the Kill Ship, at least these do a little bit when you're behind, right? They're going to kill your opponent's best creature or spit out a 2/2 blocker at absolute worst. But those are both very bad abilities for the respective mana costs if you aren't also getting the station value out of them. The best way to get that station value out of them is to have played a bunch to the board, probably already be decently ahead on board. So again, they're not great cards, but for the mana value, they give you a ton of value if you are in a decent position. So I do think they're better than Greenhouse, and they are playable. We've played plenty of Spacecraft in this set before. But I just have some potential issues with them because they're kind of like our really good ways to try to 2-for-1 in the end game and get really far ahead in the late game and win from there. We already have a Thrumming Hive pool, an Anti-Causal Vestige, an Ouroboros. I think we have plenty of ways to go over the top and accrue just a ridiculous amount of value off of one spell without these spacecraft. So I'm a little interested in potentially cutting them. Definitely the greenhouse. I'm just going to get that out of here right now. Nutrient Block doesn't have any direct synergy anywhere in this deck. We don't care about Void. We don't care about life gain. The only thing it really has is the Gene Pollinators. That's the closest to direct synergy that we have, but we have a good chunk of 2-mana creatures to go with the Pollinators, as well as a couple Lander tokens potentially. So I think these Pollinators won't be stranded in this deck without the Nut Blocks, but they are still pretty slow, and there's not a ton of synergy for them. The indirect synergy that we could say is that cycling through your deck, drawing extra cards, helps you see your more powerful spells more often. So when there is a huge disparity between the weakest spell in your deck and the strongest spell in your deck, cycling spells and a little bit of card draw like that can go a long way. So just that element of sort of digging towards Ouroboros, Thrumming Hive pool, digging towards bombs is certainly there with the Nut Blocks. So that's another thing we can consider cutting. I think the Broodguard Elite is probably our worst creature in the deck by just mana value we put into it and what we get out of it for that mana value. The hard cast of the Broodguard Elite in the late game is usually pretty miserable. It's like a 6-mana 4/4 style thing. So you need to get a lot of value off the initial warp, and that's usually not the greatest as well. 4 mana for 3 +1/+1 counters, but also you don't get the counters till the end of your turn after you've already attacked. It's got warp, so it is on the board before that triggers in the end step, so it does still help station your spacecraft. That is something. I think there's a build of this deck that runs all the spacecraft and does some of that warp combo shenanigans, but I kind of want to just play to the board with just normal creatures and removal here. Go more towards just raw individual card quality, cards that'll be good when ahead or behind in any position, rather than cards that are a little bit more combo-y. I'm interested in the potential cut of Elite and Rammer at least. Then maybe keep one Nut Block here and keep the Orbital Plunge. Off Triple Pollinator, Scrap Bot, Wayfarer, Stomping Ground. And now one leftover Nutrient Block for Pollinator taps. This looks really powerful to me, but honestly, I think you could give this sealed pool to maybe even a brand new player and they would come up with something that looks really powerful. So I don't think there's anywhere to go super wrong with the sealed pool. There's certainly different directions to build it. We could splash even more, play more removal like Bombard, maybe try out Sammy in a triple Gene Pollinator deck. That could be interesting. We could not splash at all, go pure green-white, run a couple spacecraft. We could also lean into the spacecraft a lot more, running the big warper and some nonsense like the Broodguard Elite. A lot of ways to do things. If we lean into the spacecraft more, maybe play the greenhouse and stuff, maybe that's where Sammy comes in off the splash as a potential way to run it as well. But I think I'm feeling like just running raw consistency, and this is, I think, our most consistent build, save for not splashing red. Obviously, it's going to be slightly more consistent if I don't run a mountain in here. And I don't run a red card. Because by running even just one mountain, I'll hit our main 2 colors slightly less often. Because we'll draw this mountain now and then, but I kind of have to run the mountain so I have it to grab to these Lander tokens if I'm splashing red. And then the other thing that makes the deck less consistent is we will draw an Orbital Plunge and not be able to cast it sometimes. Whereas if I just run one of those random spacecraft, then, that'll be castable 9 times out of 10. If I'm playing just forests and plains, we should basically never get stuck on mana with triple Gene Pollinator, multiple Lander tokens, and only 2 colors in the mana base. But I feel like the interaction count is super low without splashing at least 1 in. Focus Fire, Double Strike, and then a 7-mana kill ship. Not into the removal without a splash. Really not. But maybe we just present powerful enough threats that we don't need an insane amount of interaction. I mean, we're a 3.5 bomb deck. No, we're like a 4.5 bomb deck. So Chaplain, Diadrine, Ouroboros, and Hive Pool are all cards that just like need to be dealt with, or they'll take over the game. And then Vestige is like, I mean, it's a large creature, 7/5, but like you can trade into that without too much difficulty in this set. A 3/1 and a 2/2 or something like that. But it is still like a half bomb because you're still getting good value off it every time you're activating it and trading off with it. Just the other rares are a bit stronger because they're all kind of insane. Yeah, maybe maximum consistency. Don't even splash red here. This mana base looks exceptional. This red splash looks free with triple pollinator and 2 lander tokens and a stomping ground. But if you've seen the Arena Open draft we did, you'll know I can hit the wrong colors in a 2-color deck even, so I really don't want to take the mana base for granted. We are making it a bit less consistent here for Plunge. There is an argument not to run it. Yeah, I think my favorite builds are running it like it is, or like cutting Plunge for Wedge Light Rammer and not splashing. Something like that. I don't think we can splash the white because our strongest white spell is Sunstar Chaplain that we really want to curve out with on turn 2. Diadrine as well is best when you can also cast it cheap because it's still quite strong early game. So adding to that flexibility is powerful. Whereas if it's off the splash, is only a late game play. Obviously much weaker, same with the Chaplain. Yeah, I don't think I want to go red at the core here. Going green-red. I can't not play green as a core color because there's triple pollinator at 1 mana. Double green or a Boroid. I'm gonna go for it. I'm very much just repeating myself at this point, but triple pollinator, multiple landers, and a stomping ground. I'm gonna run a teeny bit more interaction with the less consistent mana base here for it. This mana base still looks really consistent at hitting our main colors. We have 9 green sources naturally, 7 white sources. There's no double white cards in the whole deck. We have 3 green spells at 1 mana that can produce white mana for us, and 2 3-mana cards that get us lander tokens towards it. Yeah, deck looks really strong. When we run it like this, maybe we'll have consistent mana issues and we'll just put the Wedge Light Rammer in and cut the Plunge for future games, but I'm going to run it like this for now, hop into the gameplay, and see how far this takes us. Here we are for game 1. Everything is going super swell with this opening hand. We have all of our colors via either Gene or the Scrap Bots Lander token. Did they update the animations? Or am I losing it a little here? That looked really weird to me. We're playing against a white deck here. They could have the 1 white mana uncommon that deals 2 to a tapped creature, so we could play around that by not attacking with Pollinator, but that is the uncommon removal spell, not the common. The common deals damage to an attacking or blocking creature. So I don't think I want to do that. I could have played Diadrine there. That might have just been worth it. 2 counters, attack, just get a 2/2 immediately. But I'm going to get a little greedy with that and wait for more. I think I should have played Forest instead because I don't need red mana immediately. Can you tell I am a draft-only player who doesn't know how to play with Shocklands the right way? Our opponent has probably the most terrifying mythic rare land. There are a lot of strong artifacts and enchantments in this set, so if they get that station, that is a very real activated ability. It makes permanent clones of whatever they want, not like temporary clones or anything like a lot of these cards. It's straight up 4 mana tap, they make another scrap bot level of powerful. So really threatening card if it gets stationed. So I would not be surprised if they do station it a little bit with some of their threats here. Ready for the Diadrine Greed to come back and haunt me here, because I think we're going to just jam it down this turn. And I imagine they're just going to do a removal spell of some form, like a Banishing Light on it, and all the extra +1/+1 counters will just not matter. Or 1 mana from Hive Pool, that's quite exciting. Do I want to hold up a Focus Fire here? I still get a Diodrine for 4 counters on it. What I could do that's kind of interesting is if I play a Diodrine just as a 3/4, it's a little small, but it makes sure that I can crack this lander token, get my 5th land, and guarantee a Hive Pool next turn. So it is quite enticing. Then Diodrine's small enough, though, that it's at that awkward level where maybe they don't even need to play removal on it, you know? Oops, X equals 1. Total power is going to be 3 because the mana spent on it. There we go. Slightly confusing, but we got there. Oh, it's only a counter from that creature? Oh, from 2 creatures you control. I don't think I've actually played Diodrine more than like 1 time. Okay, not quite as good as I thought. But still quite the card. Do we take the trade here? I think I take the trade here just to know that I can crack the lander. The 3/1's not that exciting. Okay, yeah, you need 2 creatures on board. I'm sure there are already 5 different comments about it. Some of the joy of being a YouTuber. Just check the comment section first, please, I beg. It's really hard now, though. They made the comment section real bad on YouTube lately. In terms of, like, accessing it. Like, you have to scroll so far to find the comments if you're watching on PC or on your phone. If you're watching on the TV, it's not that bad, but it's still kind of tucked away. They really feel like they just have hidden the comments majorly. So I understand why I get 7+ comments all saying the exact same thing, because it's like you can't really find that anybody else has mentioned it yet. All right, well, we've got Hive Pool mana. Also got Vestige here, which is interesting. I mean, the earlier we play Hive Pool, the stronger it is, but then the more likely they have removal for it, like a Banishing Light or Radiant Strike. Those are both cards that could hit artifacts, that could hit other stuff instead if we wait. Plunge the Stinger and crack a land, but I'm not really scared of the Stinger. I'm at 18. Let's just drop this thing. Hive Pool it shall be. Could have gambled there. I could have warped the Vestige in and really hoped to draw a land, because if I did draw one, Hive Pool could be free. Emergency Eject. Okay, I don't hate that. If they're going to have removal for it, at least giving me the removal that gives me a lander token is nice. So that removal spell's out of the way. Now Vestige is more likely to survive as our threats. Okay. 7 mana available here. Warp a Vestige to get maximum card draw. Focus Fire a Stinger, suppose. I gotta get Diodrine through somehow. They could have the Indestructible trick, that'd be absolutely gnarly for me. How many creatures could I draw into that create counters? Seed Ship Agrarian, Ouroboros, Biosynthetic Burst, Sunstar Chaplain, and Dockworker Drone. There's like 5 creatures I could draw that could give me creatures out of this Diodrine. Go for it. Okay, they don't have the Biosynthetic Burst. Can warp this out and crack the lander. Slightly less likely to top deck another land here. Could play my kill ship for free. It's just a land. They're not playing black, I'll dump it out. If they were playing black, there's an argument to play around a Virus Beetle there. Well, the Sidasia has officially become a nightmare. They can station and just make a scrap bot. Or Adagia, whichever you want to call it. I have to imagine, even with a decent hand, their best play is just going to be make a scrap bot here. So the duplicate is legendary, so if I just kill the initial scrap bot... Actually, I don't even need to do that. Ooh. Lucky boy is lucky. Play that pre-combat and then Diodrine's active as well now. I think I want to plunge first. Does it matter? They might use some form of interaction. It's less likely to work if I plunge first. Probably not. Should probably just save plunge. This would still be 4 toughness. So I can attack them with that unless they have the combat tricky thing. But if I was going to use Orbital Plunge, it was going to be on the tapped scrap pot anyway. The non-legendary one. Thawbringer. They could have the double white and 3 exile everything board wipe. But I still have an anti-causal vestige after that. Let's run Thawbringer out. Galactic Wayfarer. I feel like game 1 here, so far, is just about showing off the extreme power level of individually powerful cards. So I think I've played this game quite loose, but Ouroboros still potentially turning this around really well. And I don't think our opponent's done really anything super wrong. But they also haven't really had any opportunities to do anything super well either. So it's really just been the power of Adagia being kind of spooky. I will pronounce it differently every single time. Stalker is the most okay removal spell they could possibly have here, because I can get out of it pretty easily. They're attacking there because if I take the trade, they can make another through the legend rule. Eulogist. Okay. I'm still killing Stalker for sure. Go to combat, counter on everybody with Diodrine on board is insane. Trade's fine there. Gonna remove a counter from... So they could double block Diodrine now and stop that from happening, but then they just have a legend they can't copy and 2 cards in hand. If they double block to kill Diodrine, if I leave the counter on it, I still kill both of their threats. So I guess I remove 1 from Thawbringer because it already dies to either, and then 1 from Pollinator. Getting in. I think a leftover 3/3 is gonna impact us too much if they happen to board wipe. And 9 life is enough life that, like, without another threat here, they're actually real likely to be stable off of 1 removal spell. Not stable, but, you know, not one-shot dead. But now 1 removal spell banishes Ouroboros, and then they're still not dead. The problem is their removal spell is an enchantment, so they get to double it, because this card is bonkers. Yeah, so now they get to hit Diadrine as well, take 6 on the crackback, and they're still not dead even through playing the Wayfarer there. But now they are actually out of removal. And they take a ton of damage next turn. I guess I could just kill the 3-1, they take 3. It's not like a ton. Gotta be getting low on lands at this point. Vestige triggers when it leaves for any reason. It's definitely getting slammed down here. Dominator as well, 1 more damage. We're just gonna have no resiliency to a board wipe. Well, a little bit. We do draw 1 card. They would board wipe, they're down to 2 cards in hand, and we have 1 in hand and then draw for turn, so it's almost even cards in hand through a board wipe even. Glacier Godmaw is not a board wipe, although it is a blocker that can trade into the Vestige. So they just take 4 and get our biggest creature off the board. They do get 8 damage in here, because if I wait till we attack, then we trade 1 creature into it instead of 2. Take a chunk more damage for doing this, but I think that's fine. Unless they have literally double Godmaw, there's going to be no other haste in green light. And that has to die next turn to the Vestige. Alright, I feel real safe to send all now. Because even if they have another Godmaw, I can Radiant Strike and gain 3. The Godmaw will have Vigilance, so like I'll have to strike one of my 1/2s. But I can still do it to not die to that as a top deck. And then we'd still have Crackback lethal. No, not quite. Not quite. Because I would kill a Pollinator, they could block the 2/2 and then take 1. Be 1 damage off from Crackback lethal. But I feel like double Godmaw in a row. Gotta be quite unlikely. Oh, that is clever. Give me back a 0/1 Diadrine here. Through the Legend rule. Nice. Good stuff from opponent. And they get to exile something that won't come back, so that they can use that again next turn to actually fully exile another card. Wow, that is very good for our opponent. Very good stuff. Plus gain life with Curiosity. Okay, they're still very in this game. Thawbringer's quite the draw for us. Love to see that. Let's have their life total. And set up our draw. Thawbringer sees a mountain that's going to go into the grave. We'll pass there. They keep the new Banishing Light to exile Thawbringer. They still need another blocker for the Pollinators, and they have it with Blooming Stinger. It's our own stinger. Kill theirs or have their life total here. I don't want to attack both because then they get to kill my other gene pollinator without losing anything. Here they have to spend a Radiant Strike or a Focus Fire or a Blooming Stinger. Or Biosynthetic Burst, I guess. Okay, Diplomatic Relations for the removal. Yep. Playing off the top, but we're only doing 1 damage to them on board, so they have 2 turns to draw something. But on board, the Adasia doesn't do anything else. They draw a good artifact to clone with Adasia. I believe if I Radiant Strike in response, they won't get a duplicates. Yeah, because it won't have a legal target anymore. Stop in my upkeep. These Radiant Strikes are looking real awkward. Alright, they're just going full control mode to bluff. Probably a basic land in hand. Play a land. They are dead. On board. We'll have to see if they can change that. It's a nice fitting end to the first game if we get the lethal damage off of our good friend Jean. The amount of thinking going on here does not evoke much confidence, though. Okay. They were just lamenting their position. Fair enough. That is going to be 1-0 here. Again, a lot of little misplays here that added up to be a lot of value missed. So we definitely need to tighten things up for future games, but just drawing a bunch of powerful spells and casting them is 100% a win, a way to win sealed games of Magic. So let's see if we can't keep drawing as well as that. If we draw that well and tighten up our play, then we should be able to get pretty far on this run of the Edge of Eternities Arena Direct. Here we are for Game 2, and Arena got quite mad at us for that one. Not only are we on essentially a forced mulligan here, we are playing against a literal pro Magic player, Jerry Thompson. Yeah, I mean, maybe on the draw, you can go for the LSV style Greed Keep. Like, you definitely draw the forest, right? I don't think we can do this on the play. Okay, this is definitely a better hand. Wow. Burst plays pretty well with Diadrine and Chaplain. I'm almost ditching just the 4-drop here, the Vestige. I could see ditching Stinger, though, as I'll have a Chaplain and a Diadrine and a Burst to play for only 2 mana, even if I don't keep the Stinger. And then, like, if I hit land, turn after turn, Vestige should be so much better. It's the later game play. Vestige is by far the riskiest keep, though, because it requires specific draws. Those specific draws are lands, which I have 15 of still in the deck, but it does require specific draws. But thanks to its card draw, it kind of helps ramp towards itself later. I'm going to go full aggro on this one and ditch the 4-drop. There was that weird thing again where, like, scooched into play. Oh, Lightstall Inquisitor is kind of nasty against this hand. We'll just get rid of the Stinger. Gene Pollinator. Why weren't you in the opener, little man? You would have been so much cooler. 2/3 Diadrine against a 2/1. Or run out the Chaplain here. Pollinator guarantees Chaplain triggers next turn, which is interesting. It's the worst way to spend our mana right now, but it could lead to the best way to spend our mana next turn if we top deck a land. Just double spell it up. I'm gonna go Pollinator here for Chaplain synergies. It was quite wild. It's also surprisingly, even though we're low on mana, arguably the most expendable creature. Oh boy. Jerry T is curving out, and we are missing lands. Take 5 damage if I don't hold up a blocker here. But I doubt I can afford to throw Chaplain or Pollinator under the bus. Oh, man. No arena? Why do I have the full control to do that? Oh, I am so annoyed. The play was I was going to tap the Chaplain to the Pollinator to just float the mana to get the counter. But Arena just auto-skipped through my turn as soon as Chaplain hit the board. I clicked full control too late. That's so frustrating, because it's actually so bad here. Because now I can't do it next turn. This would have been a 4/3, and they couldn't attack with Inquisitor. I might just lose, because I had to full control mode to do that. It's so wild. Three extra 2 damage for Jerry here. They block, I can burst. They don't block. I have 2 tapped creatures and I can play another one. I think Jerry has to block here, because even if he knows I have Biosynthetic Burst, it's just so bad for him if I just play another creature here and get a trigger for a counter on the board. So this way I don't get to play another creature. I just got real good aggro stuff. Another Mechanozoa or something? No, okay. I think this is the right play from Jerry for sure. Four mana now. Station Monitor is insane. And Seam Rip? Jay just brought the blue-white double spell draft deck into Sealed. Draws are quite mid. I can't deal with Station Monitor. Super likely to take things over. It's guaranteeing shield mate attacks. Should play a 4/5 and pass. My best bet at this point? Kinda is. My only blocker big enough. Everybody else is 2 toughness, and I'd only play 1 this turn. So it's 1 creature this turn no matter what. Might as well play the biggest. Tractor Beam is nuts here because that ability could come into play If Jerry finds a way to put a counter onto his board, he gets the draw a card and another creature. He's got the 1-mana spell for the double spell. Nice. That extra 2 damage we took because Arena didn't want to let me pollinate is going to be super bad for me. Oh my god, you know what I just realized? The extra counter, if it let me pollinate, would have let me play Diadrine attack and trigger it. I don't have any play that survives. I'm just dead in the sky now. Oh, what a monumentally tilting way to lose. We completely lost that game because we didn't go into full control mode. If we played out the pollinator curve that I was intending to play, like if Arena just let me have priority when I had priority, tap that, Chaplain, have a counter on Chaplain, I would then be in a position to play that Diadrine the next turn to draw cards towards hitting the next land earlier in that game. We would have to throw a Chaplain under the bus for it, but by throwing the Chaplain under the bus, we trade into one of their aggressive creatures a lot earlier, go up a creature with another 2/2, go up a card off the card draw. It would have been so worth it, having 2 creatures with the counter on the board for the immediate trigger of Diadrine. Yeah, that game could have played out astronomically differently, but I guess I know for the future I have to go full control mode in order to use the Gene Pollinator to trigger end step double tap cards. That hurts. That hurts. Because I think if the game went out 100% how I wanted to play it in my brain and not how Arena wanted to pass through my turn, we would have had multiple more turns from now. Would be at 2 more life here, plus more creatures on board, plus more draw. We'd hit the lands earlier. It actually mattered a ton. All right. Well, that is going to happen. About everything that could possibly go wrong going wrong because we won a single game of Magic. So we had to mulligan. So we started this game down a card. Arena literally skipped through my turn when I had a great play because I wasn't in full control mode. And we were paired against a literal pro player. That is just how things are going to be on that one. They're just trying to keep things interesting. Make sure we have to go completely undefeated for the rest of the event from here. If there was any deck that could do it, this might be the one. Let's see if we can't rally into some more wins here. Maybe get some gems back out of this, but hopefully maybe even, fingers crossed, work our way towards that box. All right, here we are on the play for game number 3 with a great opening hand. The fashionably late Gene Pollinator, as it tends to be. Pollinator play both of these? Is that insane? It is kind of insane as a plan. But hey, I'm a crazy man. Ardent, what is the 1-drop? Nutrient block, sure. Get a ping off of it. Go big or go home. Not the best draws. God, I love playing this set. It's just an absolute joy. It'd be pretty objectively hilarious if I just didn't draw another spell for the entire rest of the game. After that. See you tomorrow. I feel like Newmont right now. I try to always be positive and also try to look back on things and see what we can change and learn from for the future. I'm really not feeling it today. I have to be honest with you all. Um, I mean, obviously, I talked in game one about things that we did wrong on that curve. Game two, this is a set with a lot of board wipes, so you could say that it was too aggressive to just go full speed ahead with Chaplain Diadrine there. But I think that that plays so incredibly well against anything but a board wipe because it applies so much early pressure in a set that has a lot of great late game value that it's worth it there. Plus, our deck has plenty of other great late game cards to draw into. So I think just pushing max damage there was reasonable without the information of what our opponent has in their hand. They just had exactly the right card to full punish us there. So I don't think that we should go too results-oriented thinking and say that that was a particularly greedy line. I think that's just not the case. I think without knowing what's in your opponent's hand, that is a very reasonable way to play that game. We just ran into the scenario where we did, in fact, get punished. There's a lot of other scenarios where we play that out much slower and then get punished by our opponent having the mana for grab kills and stuff by the time that we play Diadrine, when we could have gotten much more value if we had just dumped them out early like that. And again, our second loss, what can we learn there? I mean, maybe the Biosynthetic Burst play with the Chaplain was extra aggressive, but I think the big thing about that game is, like, if our Pollinator Chaplain line actually went through, we would have had a creature with a counter on it for a turn 3 Diadrine, and we definitely would have done that to draw farther, have a wider board. Then the burst later would be incredible. Yeah, you could say, I guess when we ended up in the position where we did not have a counter on the board, throwing the burst also out there just to get that Chaplain swing in was potentially pretty greedy. I'm not like greedy, but it may have been better to just go wider on board. But we certainly could not have gotten like Diadrine wide. We just would have played like a Stinger or something, which isn't that good. But we certainly could have played that game out differently even after the arena stealing our turn 2 play from us. But I don't think we could have played it out significantly differently enough to really impact anything at all in terms of how it ended there. The play that would have absolutely changed that game entirely, flipped it on its head, was Pollinator tap the Chaplain, which was my intended play. And then once I had Pollinator tap the Chaplain, if they stunned the Pollinator the turn after that, if I still have a +1/+1 counter on board, which we saw most of their hand by the end of the game, I would have still had a +1/+1 counter on the board. I would have seen the Diadrine line and went for that there. For a wide board, more card draw towards hitting lands faster. That game goes astronomically different. We're taking much less damage because they definitely take the trade into Chaplain on that swing. We also have another creature for blocks. We hit the land faster. Yeah. So I think the first loss was arena error, not giving me the opportunity to tap with Pollinator, and the second loss was just the way the cookie crumbles. That's going to happen sometime. We made a play that is better against the majority of hands. Any hand that doesn't have Litho Breaking in it. Any hand that doesn't have Litho Breaking or the black X mana board wipe, which I think, even when you're against Rakdos, I think is 90% of hands. And we just ran up against that 1% of hands that has exactly Litho Breaking that majorly punishes us. It is what it is, but an incredibly frustrating start to the Arena Direct here. I'm not really going to put a positive spin on that one. I feel like I'm becoming Numot after the Arena Open did what it did into the start of this Arena Direct being that. I'm very over Edge of Eternities, but it's also the only competitive set that we have until Spider-Man launches, whatever they're going to call Spider-Man on Arena. The Wizards version of it, the non-licensed Spider-Man set. That'll be really interesting to see. I'm very looking forward to that. I'm ready for a new set of Magic, but for now, we're gonna go back to the drawing board. Every event is a new event, every day is a new day, and I will see you all tomorrow for a much more positive and upbeat video, hopefully, with some more Arena Direct attempts. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.